you.
So this meeting is called to order at 7:12. The covered meeting is being recorded. Our agenda was posted on the committee's webpage, and we are holding this meeting under authority of legislation that authorizes remote and hybrid meetings until March 31st, 2025. If there are any difficulties, we will reconvene at a later date. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. Today, the minutes for the meeting will be taken by committee member Adrian Boardman. Thank you again, Adrian. And at this time, I will ask committee members to indicate that they are present when I call their name. Mary Beth Parker.
Here.
Adrian Boardman.
Present.
Dorcas Miller.
Present.
Sam Stearns.
Present.
Nat Welch is present. So with 5 of 9 members, we have a quorum. Our first agenda item is to approve the minutes from April 27th. Are there any edits to the meetings, to the minutes that committee members want to suggest for the April 27th minutes? Those were sent to all members this afternoon. May I have a motion to approve?
Motion to accept the motion to accept. Oh, I had a question.
Oh, yes.
It said no, given no bids were received, Marcia's going to break the project down into its parts. I wasn't sure what the bids were for.
For design service, survey and design services for the
Oh, for the
area next to the
cemetery?
Yes.
Cemetery, okay. I got very confused by that. Okay.
All right. Do we want a clarification of that in the minutes?
It would be good to put something like, given no bids were received for the
Cemetery.
cemetery, the prison cemetery project.
Good enough? Okay. For the present cemetery project. I'm taking notes and I will update the minutes with that. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
Welcome, make a motion that we make the adjustment.
Yes, as adjusted, the April 27th minutes as adjusted. Second?
Second.
I'll do a roll call vote now for the minutes. Ms. Barker?
Yes.
Ms. Boardman?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Stearns?
Aye.
Mr. Welch says aye, and the minutes are accepted unanimously. Now turn this over. I'd like to invite Marcia Rasmussen, Director of Planning and Land Management, to provide her last monthly update of her long and distinguished career. Marcia.
I was doing the an update or documenting how long things have taken, and when I look back, the original feasibility study was prepared by the Central Transportation Planning staff and delivered in 1987. The first actual work was done in 2003 in terms of an engineering and environmental assessment. And it's been 20 years and we are finally, hopefully this summer, finalizing the bridge, and the last half mile in Concord is under construction. Completion date 2025. So this has been a long process, but I think well appreciated and loved, and probably I hope it continues.
Yes.
So
It will continue. So we hope you'll come back again.
well, I'm gonna ride it for sure.
By the number of people that are using it, I think it's been successful.
Absolutely.
I would agree.
Wonderful.
So we haven't yet heard about the signs that are going to be provided by the Friends. And so while we're on that topic, since I am retiring next Wednesday, Erin Stevens is here, senior planner in the planning division, and she is going to be assuming the liaison role with the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee. So welcome, Erin. Thank you for being here
Thank you,
tonight.
Erin.
I think Erin is currently, prior to coming to work for the planning division, she was our public information officer. And is it the director of Minuteman Network?
Executive director.
Executive director. So,
It's gotta have that extra.
so, provided great service to the town through some very challenging times. And so thank you. We're delighted that she is now working with the planning division because we can now draw on that expertise whenever we have to do public outreach, and really complements the skill set in the planning division. So I think it'll be a great role for Erin to be your staff liaison. Okay, so with regard to the signs, once they are received, we will work with Public Works to have them, the old ones removed. There are 2 sets in 4 different locations along the trail, and those will be removed and the new one will be installed. For 2B, paving was completed on May 9th, and looks really good. There is a punch list, but not of a lot of things, but there are 5 areas on state-owned land that they have been unable to get to seed and get ground cover on. So those areas probably will not be addressed until the fall, when the farmer that works the Department of Corrections land harrows and reseeds. What we're trying to do now is divide out that part of the contract so that the path itself can be turned over to the towns, so that maintenance can be done by the towns and the contractor is not responsible for that. Once that has happened, then we can move forward with planning an opening for the bridge. So progress is being made. You have some pictures before you of that sidewalk. It looks really great. There's not a lot. There's just some small things that need to be taken care of, and we'll be good to go. For the phase 2C updates, a lot of little things have been going on. The planters have been ordered for Junction Park. They are due to be delivered on June 28th. So a little out of time. I had hoped that they would be ordered sooner, but ran into some issues with trying to determine the right size. And so my initial selection was actually too low, probably would have been at knee height and might have been a stumbling hazard. The ones selected are a little bit higher than about mid-thigh. And once they're planted, I think they'll be a better fit. This design that you have, the little picture there, more closely resembles the planter that is in the park that has been used in the past. And then again, working with Public Works to get them out there so that you can test that with the Commission on Disabilities and with the West Concord Green Thumbs and the advisory committee and others who might be interested. West Concord Advisory Committee, I would reach out to, as well as the West Concord Junction Cultural District, to check on the location of different things. Along that line, I'm going to jump around a little bit. I did submit the documentation to the MBTA today, this morning. And I'm going to be handing off that to both Erin and our Deputy Town Manager, Megan Zamuto, to coordinate for the next steps. It was determined earlier this spring that the MBTA wants to have review. They completely reviewed the design for the Junction Park when it was proposed back in 2010 or so. And they just want to check off and make sure everything's okay with what's been proposed. So I submitted the plan and the PowerPoint presentation, and I'm waiting to hear back from the MBTA. And then if I don't hear back, Megan and Erin will be picking that up.
And that just on that one note, what you submitted to the NBA permission to put the planters in that area?
It involves the planters and the signage, and then the larger rectangular planters closer to the platform.
Okay.
Anything within 30 feet of a railroad platform or an active rail line is subject to MBTA review, and they are behind in their review. It's taking longer and longer depending on who's looking at it. I think since we've had outreach to the people that this goes to, I'm hopeful that it will go more quickly. Fingers crossed. Regarding the contemplative space for the Bruce Freeman and the the Concord Prison Cemetery. Ann Clifford, who is the senior planner to the CPC, is drafting memorandum of agreements or understandings about these different, about the funding and the use of the funds, and raised some questions about working on state land. The prison is separate from the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, so we don't have an agreement to do that, and raising questions about that. The other is whenever you are working close to or in a historic resource where there are human remains, there's regulations about that as well. And so we have a meeting scheduled for next Tuesday with town council, members of the CPC, and Concord Prison Outreach, and myself to try to address the concerns and issues. And what we might do is take a step back and just do the interpretive panel and place that next to the two benches that currently exist across from the prison along the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. Perhaps relocate the existing panel that's there closer to the parking area with a separate seating area, and then allow Concord Prison Outreach and others to move forward maybe next year with more, something that might be an incursion into the prison cemetery area. So that's scheduled for next Tuesday. And I know that's complicated, and I apologize if too much detail, but I thought it was better to try to limit the conditions that were going to be placed on the funds at this stage, since it was never intended to actually disrupt the prison cemetery. So if we can pull it back, it will allow work to continue and move forward, but not with that, with these conditions that might have been challenging to meet. And I was concerned about the cost of what it might be to bring in a preservation specialist to work with the group on all of that. So we're taking a step back. With regard to the tree planting, Aaron McCloskey did get back to me this week to say that he will add the 14 trees in the fall 2023 planting program. So those are the trees that died. They were along a fence area and near the former municipal light plant facility, just south of Williams Road. I mentioned earlier that Will Holden has been working with the Willard 5th grade class for their service day, which is next Thursday morning. And I'm sorry, I don't have the exact time, but it's 10 or 10:45, but they'll be out there. And we have a lot of plants that we're going to be planting, as well as removing some invasives. And so I hope the same energy is there as there was last year. It'll be a lot of fun. And then you have a little picture of the West Concord Junction Cultural District mural that was unveiled this past weekend. It celebrates the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, and it's wonderful details on there. Even I'm featured on that. It's like, look for it. And then the town manager's office received several complaints about abutters along the trail dumping leaves and yard debris or yard waste along the trail. So working with Delia Kay, she had a sample of a letter that was used for people who are next to conservation lands. I'm going to be modifying that and preparing it to go to all the abutters along the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. So I actually got an email just this week from another entity who was asking about that. So we're going to try to address this. I believe that there is an ability to find those who are putting yard waste along the rail trail through the building commissioner's office. So we'll be looking at that if there are repeat offenders. And then the last half mile, I provided you with some of the links to the Sudbury office's information about the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. I was shocked to learn that their planner, they have no planning staff right now. their planner, last day was this. Was it
That's great.
last Friday? Yeah. So, they're currently without any planning staff. It's gonna be really interesting. But they do have, a natural resources or conservation director who is able to monitor a lot of the open space pieces. And then, our assistant natural resources director, Bert Commons, has begun laying out some graphics for the two murals, the two interpretive panels rather, that are going on next to White Pond and Heartleaf Pond, the vernal pool. And I sent those out to everyone to take a look at, looking for feedback. So if not tonight, and if you have some comments, please direct them to Delia Kay and Aaron. Yes, absolutely, Aaron.
You sent that out, I don't know.
It was attached as a separate thing,
So
so,
maybe,
so you want to take a look.
Okay, great.
oh, actually, no, that's.
Okay. So I think it's a good start, but I know that the graphics the verbiage needs to be bigger to make it more readable, and he's going to be looking for some better quality photos, but this is a great beginning.
Great.
So, and that's my update.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you for your last update, and we will miss you and all the work that you've done here. You've done an amazing job of making this trial happen.
It's been fun, most of it.
Most of the
Most of it, yeah. I think getting past 2016 was when I spent a lot of time that summer meeting face to face with all of the people that we needed easements from, and working with the appraiser to get everything done, and then working with town council to have everything in place. And we were up to the 11th and a half hour before we had to get this in,
everything comes, yeah.
before everything came together.
Any questions from the committee members on Marcia's report?
I would like to say that I thought the mural was fantastic.
They passed that along.
That was beautifully done, and it's just a gem, I think. Is Heartleaf Pond that little mud hole down the street from me?
Yes, it is. I didn't know it had a name, the vernal pool.
Okay, I just never knew I had a name. Okay, and this doesn't have to do with Marcia's report, but I would like to find a way to express our extreme disappointment with Giroux Park.
Okay.
Perhaps that goes in a different part of the committee meeting. I feel that it's critical.
Okay, can we hold that until we get
Okay.
Okay, great. I'll make a note. About Giroux. I have one question, Marcia, with regard to the signs. There was some rumor potentially about moving the sign near Powder Mill Road up to the top of the Serpentine Trail. Is that, I think Barbara Pike had mentioned it.
Yes, yes.
Is that what our thinking is, to put it up at the top of the Serpentine?
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I'll try to remember to convey that, but Erin's here, so she's made a note of it.
Okay, great. All right, good. And then, do you want someone from here at the Tuesday meeting regarding the cemetery?
I don't think that's necessary at this point in time, because it's just trying to tease out what do we want to go forward with at this point versus looking into some of these other costs that have been identified.
Okay, okay, great. And then, given that you talked a bit about the completion of the bridge, we have here tonight a former member of the committee who has volunteered to keep helping with the celebration. Do you want to join us for a couple of minutes and talk about that? We're also looking for a current committee member who can work with Richard on this.
He needs all the help we can get.
Well, we won't say that.
Because as Marcia's indicated, everything's complicated. In terms of this last little phase of work that needs to be done, but in the interim, I contacted Kyle Stapleton, who is our what's his first name?
Cataldo?
Cataldo, yeah.
Simon
Yeah,
Pincata.
one of the Concord reps, aides, who is coordinating all the other political folks, because we've got Acton, Concord's represented by Representative Sudbury. We've got 2 state senators, and then the various DOT people. He's in touch with a gentleman, Mark Kratman, who is apparently the person, he may be in PR or something for DOT, but he's the person who organizes these events. But he can only go forward when the engineers tell him he can do that. So I've been in contact with, about weekly with Kyle. He's keeping me appraised. I spoke, and he was hopeful to get me some more information before tonight's meeting, but he was unable to. It may be that he's running into what Marcia described, that they simply aren't telling Mark at DOT that it's okay to start ordering the tents or ordering the speaker or whatever it is. I had at one point proposed a very ambitious idea. I still would like, as part of the event, to take this notion of bringing a ribbon to the bridge and tying it together with people coming from both sides. And emblematic of all the connections that have been made. So there was a tentative date floated as July 30th. Barbara Pike pointed out that's 4th of July weekend, basically. And
So
it's a long
June 30th.
June 30th, sorry, yeah, June 30th. Excuse me. That is a long 4th of July weekend. That's the date they were pulling together the politicians, basically. So that may or may not be the case. As soon as I find out anything, I'll be glad to talk to people. And I do have a small group of people from Acton, from here, who were on a little email list. So we're keeping in touch with each other, and they would pull in other interested folks. I know the West Concord Junction cultural folks are interested. And I know folks from Acton, Joyce at the bike shop is interested. So, and Barbara's always got the cake on the ready. Can't make it.
And the bandanas.
Yeah, and the bandana. Speaking of
I
which,
don't think there are going to be any bandanas, sorry.
Okay.
So are there going to be a new bandana for this section or not, Barbara? We don't know.
Well, the Friends haven't really been involved with any of it at the moment.
So, well, it's a plan in motion to say.
So the DOT is the one that really officially owns the opening.
They own the opening,
Okay.
but it's got to be coordinated with your state representatives, and then it goes, and we will be, everybody up to the US, I don't know, President Biden will be invited, but up to the governor, up to the senators, up to the US representatives. I think there's Lori Trahan, I think, has already expressed some interest in being involved, said Kyle. So I think that there could be other people who want to get involved. But it's pretty much in those hands of figuring all those out.
So I guess in the interim, as you find things out, if you'll,
I will.
let me know and I'll pass it on to
Sure.
the committee.
And, again, if there's somebody eager to help with the,
Is there somebody in the committee who would like to help work with Richard on this a little bit? Please be part of the process. Don't all jump at once.
it might be me, that's fine, It might
I'll be
right,
your
not
contact
fine.
then.
Okay,
for now.
and obviously when we get closer, there'll be things, tasks that could be assigned or just opportunities to get involved. So, hopefully, and I've spoken to Marcia when she's going to be around this summer. I mean, she has to be at this as well. I'm going to make sure
She's a celebrity too.
I get your contact information, Marcia. So
Yes.
if the dates are being finalized, that we're certain that you'll be there as well.
More important than the government.
Yeah, no, of course, the governor.
Well, I don't know about that.
So I think that's about it. So
Okay, great. So we will stay in touch, and then our next meeting is the 22nd, I think, or let me see. Hold on, yeah.
20
June 22nd.
And I will be arriving, I won't be back in California. until
Okay,
then.
but you and I can talk until.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, we'll be in touch.
All
So
right,
thank
that's
you.
good. Thank you. And Aaron will probably have something to add to
Yeah,
that.
I hope.
Okay. Okay, and I'd
My
like.
My hand is raised.
Welcome to our,
Barbara Pike
oh,
has her
sorry,
hand
Barbara,
raised.
go ahead, yeah.
Richard, before you go,
Okay, sorry.
just some notes from the groundbreaking in Sudbury last Saturday.
Okay,
The state gave 7 days notice for when they had scheduled it.
gotcha.
They selected a site, and 2 days later, they changed the site.
I remember that.
I do not think they contacted all of the state legislators at least from Concord.
Okay,
Peter Sutton is the Mass Dot Bike and Pedestrian Coordinator, and he
Peter
seemed to be the one who was in charge. He was the MC. And they accepted suggestions from Sudbury about the speakers, but Mass Dot set the agenda.
okay,
And I would like to suggest that if you want a cake, you should, contact the friends. If you get a date,
Okay,
it was a scramble in Sudbury. And we got everything cleaned up before the rain came at 11 o'clock.
okay.
Nice.
Well done.
well done.
I mean, I think that my initial discussion with Kyle was to have the event based at Giroux Park area. Even, I mean, I understand the issues of not being finished. It does have a lot of parking, so that seemed to be a logical place, and it's also close enough to the bridge that we actually involve the bridge itself. It's pretty easy to get over there, so.
So I think that you're correct to be concerned about parking. I think you probably want to get a police detail in addition. We
Mhm.
did not, the people in Sudbury did not have time to get a police detail
Okay,
in 7 days. So just be aware that it came up very fast in Sudbury.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
thanks.
Thanks.
Cautionary tale.
For the purpose of our minute take, you're Mr. Fowler from which street address?
399 Old Bedford Road.
399 Old Bedford Road. Thank you, Mr. Fowler, for your help.
Anytime,
Have a good evening.
thank you.
I'm now going to move on to our first piece of committee business, which is the nomination and voting of officers. This is the time of year that we have to elect officers of this committee. We're required to elect a chair and a clerk based on our existing charge. Adrian and I have been serving in these roles for the last year. I'd like to open the door for discussion and nominations for the chair and clerk of this committee. Anybody have anything they'd like to say and or nominate?
Who's not here?
Who's not sure?
I would like to nominate the same two characters for the next year. I think they've done a great job.
Thank you, Dorcas.
I would second Dorcas's
Second, okay.
suggestion, yes.
The easy way out, huh? Okay. Adrian, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm happy to I'm happy to continue. I feel my time is limited in some ways to help take more off of Nat's plate. So if there's anyone that wants to do more, certainly that's an option. But Nat, if this arrangement has been working, I'm fine to have that continue for the next year.
Okay. I appreciate the support from the committee, and that hopefully haven't screwed too much up in the past, and would look forward to continuing to do this work with Adrian. So I think we need a motion to put Marcia, how do we do this?
I thought Dorcas.
Dorcas did, and
And I second.
you seconded, okay, and we just had discussion. So now I'll take a roll call vote to make Mr. Nathaniel Welch and Ms. Adrian Boardman the two co-chairs of the committee. I guess we can vote too. Ms. Boardman, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Stearns,
Aye.
Mr. Welch votes aye, Ms. Barker,
Aye.
and I think I got everybody. And so unanimously, we are re-elected for the next year. Thank you. Next order of business is the committee charge. That's a lot easier than the Republican and Democratic convention, I'll tell you that. Last month, the committee voted on a proposed change to the committee charge. On Monday, I took it, I attended the select board meeting to answer any questions about it. And out of that came 3 ideas, suggestions, specific wording. And I sent everybody a copy of this. The first change was to the purpose. I think I removed wildlife from the description of who we were supporting in this. The second is one of the select board members said that they wanted to add the phrase, at least one of whom is not an active cyclist, to make one of the 5 at-large committee members ensure that there is somebody who's not an active cyclist. I have asked them, I sent a note back to the select board members asking them, could they define what not an active cyclist means? Is it someone who hasn't cycled in the last week? Is it someone who's never cycled? Is it someone who cycles occasionally? And then at which point do they become an active cyclist? I have not heard back from them, so I don't, I can't say what their thinking is on that. And then the last item was one of the select board members added enabling passive recreation and the enjoyment of nature to what rail trails do, which I think is pretty non-controversial.
Yeah.
So
You didn't mention that the under purpose. the
Under purpose,
Change in the language.
the change in language was after abutters, I think, was wildlife.
Oh, that was what,
Right.
okay,
Right, and we'll remove the word wildlife
all right.
because there was some feeling that we didn't have to have that there.
When I looked at what sent around before, I remember making suggestions about the language relative to people with disabilities.
You said disabled, I think is what you said.
No.
Oh, okay,
I'm sure I didn't.
okay.
I see that is a very awkward way to say it. I mean, what you're doing is you're describing users and stakeholders being residents, non-residents, pedestrians, cyclists, others. And they only use the when they're referring to disabled. I find it awkward. It's
Well,
like, why
say
is it
something,
sudden? Yeah, it's like, these are all, they could be adjectives. That doesn't say the residents, the non-residents.
Right.
I just think it's a little awkward, to use it with, so I would suggest changes in that language.
So what would you like, what would
Well,
be,
I think what I remembered suggesting to you, not that we have to do it my way, if there's other ways, is to say, users and stakeholders, including, not limited to, users, including residents, non-residents. What did I say? Oh, residents, users and stakeholders who are residents, non-residents, disabled, pedestrians, cyclists, butters, and others.
okay,
That way you're using those words as adjectives sort of to
Right.
describe users.
stakeholders, including but not limited to those who are
Yeah.
residents, okay.
Yeah. So,
And then get the word, rid of the word not.
it's just a little weird. It's like if you were describing, some kind of interfaith thing. And you
Yeah.
said all are welcome, including Catholics, Baptists, Presbyterians, and the Jews.
I was gonna say the atheist.
So the new wording would be needs and interests of all BFRT users and stakeholders, including but not limited to those who are
Those
resident.
who are, yes, there you go.
Residents,
There
okay,
you go. I
perfect.
think that works.
Thank you. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. The next one, at least one of whom is not an active cyclist. How do people feel about adding that in?
That means me. I'm not an active cyclist.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly I walk on the trail. And I think it's pretty self-evident.
I think my only concern with the wording is it makes it sound like otherwise the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee is a group of like-minded cyclists that are just thinking about the cyclists, and that you somehow need this disclaimer in order for it to seem balanced. And I think it's like perpetuating the misperception that this is a group of cyclists only thinking about cyclists' needs, which I think we've had to defend over and over again is not the case. So I wonder if there's a way, Nat, to like broaden the wording to say representing a wide range of trail users. And I know that's vague and that's probably like hard to measure, but I think we'd all agree that like, yes, we should have people that use the trail to run. We should have people that use the trail to bike. We should have people that use the trail to walk. Like we should try to make our committee as well-rounded as possible to represent all that viewpoint. So I don't know how we put that into words that's going to be clear, but I think just signaling cyclists makes it sound like somehow without that caveat, we're only thinking about the bikeless interests, which I don't think is the case.
I will admit to becoming quite emotional about this phrase today. And I had to hold myself in check a few times, but so
Like for all of us on the committee talking now, I think, Nat, you're the only person that's cycled on the trail, right? So I think that just shows like we already are a very well-rounded group. We just have to figure out how to maybe better word it than signaling that out.
So the word is five. So how about this? I tried to pull what you said. 5 citizens at large who represent a wide range of trail users as described above in purpose.
Yeah, and then I think at any time if we're looking for new members and we realize, oh, we don't have anyone representing the running community, let's try and get like a runner. If we are misbalanced in some way, we can use it to help aid our outreach, but it's maybe not limiting us in the way that they're suggesting.
Okay, does anybody have any tweaks to that language who represent a wide range of trail users as described above?
Because Nat, I think you're right to question, like, if I decide to pick up cycling more seriously next month, does that then mean that like I can't be considered the non-cyclist on the committee? So I think you're right to raise those questions.
Yeah. A very thoughtful way to do it. I appreciate that. Yeah. Other comments? Sam, are the kids running around rampant, or do you have any thoughts on this?
A little loud occasionally, so I'm trying to chime in.
Do they have any suggestions on wording? Okay.
The next generation of members.
Doing that. Okay, so I think that's a really good way of covering that. And then any issues with enabling passive recreation and the enjoyment of nature? That's kind of very Henry David Thoreau for me.
It doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't. No, I think this is the easy one to add. Okay.
It does represent what we do. So.
Okay. So there are two updates to this document as we described today. I'll read both of them. The first one is in the purpose paragraph and starting at needs and interests of all BFRT users and stakeholders, including but not limited to those who are residents, non-residents, disabled, pedestrian, cyclists, abutters, and others. That's the first major change or first edit. And the second is 5 citizens at large who represent a wide range of trail users as described above. So any other thoughts, comments, discussion on this? Or are we ready for a motion? The motion would be.
Motion to accept.
May I have a motion to recommend that the select board review and approve this draft updated change dated May 25th, 2023.
Motion,
So moved.
so moved.
So moved. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. I will do a vote now. Ms. Boardman?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Barker?
Aye.
Ms. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Stearns?
Aye.
And Mr. Welch is aye, and the motion passes unanimously. Your co-chair will put this in an email and send it to the select board tomorrow. Thank you for that. The third item on our agenda is the Junction Park. And we have had with Marcia, you've already talked a bit about that. What are the next steps that we need to take with regard to Junction Park? And it's a bit of a rhetorical question because I think the steps I think that I would like to list are to have once the planters arrive, is to do a site visit, a posted site visit where members of the Council on Disabilities, the Bruce Freeman, the West Concord Green Thumbs, and others can come and review, and they will be empty, right, Marcia?
Empty, yes.
Aaron, they'll be empty, right?
So we can move them
So we can move
easily.
them around. And you have a map of where the things are supposed to go. Okay, good. So I think that's our next step, and we can't set that up until the planners are here.
Right.
Is there anything I'm missing from that as our next step?
No, I think that is it,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Committee members, any thoughts,
Well,
comments?
we're addressing the incident with the accident of the, or near accident of
On train tracks?
the, on the train tracks.
Mm,
I think that's under other business.
That's no,
That's not-
the issue of safety on the tracks of the person in the wheelchair getting stuck.
Yeah.
That's the next item on my Junction Park discussion. So I just
Oh,
want to make
but-
sure we close.
Yeah, because that's not Junction Park, that was the trail.
You're correct. It's not officially Junction Park, and it was an item that we included as a third recommendation. So it is on the right of way. That's why I thought we included. So,
Barbara's hand is up too. I don't know if we want to take it a minute before we switch to the next
Yeah.
topic.
Barbara,
it's not clear to me whether the intent, once the planters are installed, are cyclists intended to walk their bikes, or is the plan is to have the planters so that the cyclists can continue to ride their bikes through Junction Park? I mean, okay, so my point is this: if you're not trying to require cyclists to walk their bikes through the park, then perhaps you should take the sign down.
I think, Barbara, thank you for that. I think there are a couple of things in that. Just going back, when this committee recommended an approach, there were no planters except to block off view to the track so people wouldn't necessarily go straight through the park. At the select board meeting, and I don't remember.
No, the planters were going to help slow people down. It wasn't intended to make them walk. It was to slow people down
Right, but were the
and to
planters in the
narrow
original,
the width.
the planter in the center of the path was not there.
The one in the center was
Right,
not there.
right. We did have some planters, but it was designed so that people would, the whole thought is you're coming into a shared area as a biker, a cyclist, or as a walker, please pay attention and be respectful of others. And there are some residents who feel we need to, make it very hard for people to get by. So the idea of the planters is to take a look at how, what they look like in the one in the middle of the park, and see if it makes sense to have it there or not. That's kind of the next step. It's kind of see what's what. But we're not intending for people to walk their bikes necessarily, unless there are other people around, and they should do that for safety's sake.
Would it be
Is that-
possible to
Barbara.
remove that sign?
Yeah, Barbara, I think to your latter point, I think that part of our recommendation too was to update the signing. So it wouldn't say dismount your bike, but it was around, like, this is a shared space, slow down.
All your days.
And take cues of who's around you and if dismounting is necessary.
You know who poached your slogan? Please slow your pace in this special place. They're using that at Narrow Park in Acton.
Oh, I heard about that.
Our lawyers will look on them in the morning. For trademark infringement. Or copyright infringement. So, does that answer your question, Barbara?
Yes, I just didn't think that sign was necessary.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not that anyone's paying any attention, it's just, it's irrelevant, so let's get rid of it.
we will work on the signage after we figure out the planters. I did share this, this incident with everyone via an email. John Soden, a former member, came across someone who was in a wheelchair whose front wheels had got stuck in the track at the pedestrian crossing around 2 in the afternoon. And I noticed that there are trains that show up at 2:11 and 2:13 in different directions. But John was there to help the person get out. I sent a note to that effect to the select board and the town manager, informing them that we had this incident. And I have not heard back from them. I'm not sure we will right away, but I wanted to see if anybody in the committee had any thoughts or comments, or if we should do more in terms of a recommendation. So I open the floor. I don't know if you have anything.
Yes, I mean, I have seen only in one place, some kind of device that is used on a railroad track that allows people in a wheelchair or with a stroller to cross over without the wheels going into the grooves. And I am happy to try to look into that, make some phone calls and investigate what that thing is called. It's, some kind of a plate that doesn't disrupt the train, but allows
People to do it.
yeah, so I'm happy to try to figure out what that is.
Oh, that'd be
and what
great.
the name of it.
Okay.
And Marsha, can you remind me, I think when we previously discussed like some safety recommendations to the track, I think you had said that it's limited what we can do before the MBTA then has to make other
Yeah.
changes.
That's correct. So I think it would be, I think if it would be helpful if Mary Beth were able to identify what that material was or what the company was, and then we could make that recommendation to the MBTA. They may adopt it or for all crossings like this, or they may say, no, we can't do it. I don't know. To me, it makes a lot of sense to at least
Yeah,
try.
certainly.
try.
Yeah, of course.
Because we do have the retirement community right across the tracks.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other things related to Junction Park?
Nat, do you think worth mentioning now the communication on Nextdoor that raised some interest?
Yeah. So some of you may have seen, I know I got 2 or 3 emails, including my wife bringing it into me, that there was an incident where a member of the gardening group, as it was described, left a fork, a gardening fork, face up on the ground and other stuff in the trail. And a woman who passed by asked her to move it, and she put it right back on there. She said it's for bicycles. And I'm not describing exactly right. You have to go to Nextdoor to look at it. But as a result of that, I sent a note to the president of the West Concord Green Thumbs, who's now president ex officio, Tanya Hellman. And she responded immediately, said she would get back to me that evening. And she did get back to me. The short of it is that she spoke to the person in question and explained to them this is not the way that we do things. And that she didn't think this incident would happen again. So it was addressed really quickly by the West Concord Green Thumbs, and I really appreciate Tanya's quick response and the organization's quick response to it. So, any questions on that? If anybody wants a copy of the email, I can send it to them. So let me know.
Do you think someone, I don't know if it should be one of us, that somebody should add to that post on Nextdoor?
I asked Tanya if she would,
If she would.
she would be, because I felt it was like in her area,
Yeah,
that, and that, you know, it was appropriate for her and her group to, you know, to close it up. But I suggested that when she sent me the email. Okay, and then on to the next park, Giroux Park. Dorcas, you wanted to bring up.
I would like to express my extreme disappointment regarding Giroux Park, which appears to have been badly mishandled by the town. I'm wondering if, and of course, because Giroux Park is not going to be available immediately, that puts more pressure on Junction Park. I'm wondering if we can just somehow express our disappointment to possibly the selectmen, and hope that they will move it along.
Do we know, with our two town staffers here, can you give the committee an update as to what's been going on with that?
Actually, I think that's something from Ann Clifford. Hold on just a minute.
There was some sort of litigation with it, is that correct? But take your time, find out what you need to.
Okay. Recently posted to the CPC and provided by our facilities director, Ryan Orr, the project status. It was their project status update, and that it's about 80% completed. Starting up where we left off on April 25th, 2022, tree and shrub plantings were completed, turf and grass were completed, stone walls and chip seal installed. Patio pavers in and around the pavilion were completed, and the rough timber frame was complete. And that all facets of the restroom and septic system are complete, but there's some question about that right now. It wasn't finalized, and that's one of the issues. They said the remaining work was the pavilion roof, the landscape edging, pavement top coat and lining and traffic signage, site furnishings, and the as-built and closing documents. And the timeline is unknown at this time, and that was submitted on March 15th to the Concord Planning or Concord Community Preservation Committee, CPC. So I believe that it is those in charge are mediating, litigating, or one of the others trying to come to some resolution so that we can see that part completed. And I do understand Dorcas' opinion is not the only one out there. Many people have expressed that same level of disappointment and discouragement about the park.
I know there's been some, it seems like increased coverage of it in like the Concord Bridge. And I think there was like a strong, I don't know if it's an opinion piece or letter to the editor in the last week's edition. So I wonder if maybe more information might start to be shared now that there seems to be momentum around people seeking updates. So hopefully that's the case.
Part of the problem, I think, is the lack of communication.
Mhm.
And I feel that every time anybody I know has inquired into it, they've just been shut down and said it's not able to be discussed because it's in litigation. That's not acceptable.
I can ask.
But
go ahead.
Dorcas, I beg to differ. When you are in the litigation, you cannot talk about something, period. Having been there on several fronts, it's very frustrating to be on both sides of this. To be involved in the litigation at all is really frustrating. And I know people are impatient about it and have high expectations about it, but when you're in litigation, you cannot talk about it without jeopardizing your position.
Officially, the town cannot officially, right?
I understand that, but I still think the communication could be a lot better.
What would you like from the select board, Dorothy? What do you think we should ask for from them?
I'm just expressing disappointment. That's all I'm doing. I wish we could urge the select board to make some kind of a statement saying that I don't know what you can say because I know it's in litigation, but it must be something they can share with us.
Yeah.
It's sort of say, we're hoping to get it done by a certain period of time. We're working on it actively, whatever. But this is something that we've spent a lot of money on. We were promised a lot of things when they bought the land. And I think it needs to be moved. It's just sitting there eating up money.
Okay.
I personally don't know how our roles as a Bruce Freeman Advisory Committee position us to write like a collective letter like that. Like I understand the frustration. I understand like as Concord residents, we want more. I'm just trying to understand that the Bruce Freeman connection. So like personally, I guess me just thinking out loud, I wouldn't feel
Well,
comfortable.
what's the Bruce Freeman Trail? It's going to be a very big
It's like
part.
a lot of things in town about the Bruce
Right,
Freeman.
but it's going to be a very big part of the Bruce Freeman Trail. And we'd like to see it move along. We're anxious to see it go.
Well, the only connection I see is what somebody else mentioned, that it does put more pressure on Junction Park, but I don't know if that's enough of an argument, but I also wonder, I mean, and this again, I don't think it's our job, but the town, sometimes if you just acknowledge people's feelings that, we know that people are very disappointed about this, but we are doing everything we can. It's in litigation, so we're really sorry we can't, I mean, just that, I think can go a long way till but that's not our job.
Well, our charge does not include Zero Park, except that we do about it.
Yeah.
And I think, so how about this? Terry Ackerman is our liaison. I will call her this week and ask her if she would be willing to ask the select board what they'd be willing to say publicly about it.
Mhm.
Just saying, we're getting questions and we'd like you to give us some sort of an update. And let's start there. And Dorcas, she's here next month, and we can, whatever answer I get from her, I'll try and share with the committee. And at the same time, we can also have a conversation about it at our next meeting. I can ask Terry to be there.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, are there any, we're done with the committee business, unless, did any members have anything else they want to bring up? Okay, so I'm going to open the floor to public comments. Does anybody in the public want to say anything? And if you please announce yourself and your address, Ms. Pike.
Barbara Pike, Border Road. The town is having a focus on inclusion. And I think the rail trail already is focused on with making it accessible for people with disabilities. The charge, as I recall, said that the trail should be welcoming to non-residents. I think the committee could keep this focus. It's great that there are the rental bikes for people who possibly are coming from out of town. But it's very difficult for some people to access really the better parts of the trail because there's no parking south of Assabet except for the one handicap spot. There's no benches. I know that this issue of bathrooms or porta potties has been, it's been difficult, so far not possible to do. But these are some of the kinds of things that the committee can focus on to make sure that, along with the rest of the town, that the rail trail is inclusive for everyone.
You did bring up a point about parking, and I thought the parking by the rifle range would be potential. However, there is a sign there that says rifle range parking only, which is not very inclusive.
Mm.
Can you give me the history of that signage?
traffic safety officer from the police department is very concerned about people walking across the road at that location because of the people coming either in either direction on Old Marlborough Road. And there are no good sight lines there, so that's the purpose of the reason for the signage. It's pedestrian safety.
I don't see people parking along Old Marlborough, but I don't see any signs that say you can't. And up by the middle school, of course, the parents park along Old Marlborough when there's sports.
No,
activities.
I was talking about the
I'm not talking about the rifle range. I'm talking about on-street parking. There's actually, I don't know if it's new or not, but there's a red and white sign that says no BFRT parking. That's pretty spells it out.
Oh, that's by Powder Mill?
It's at the rifle range. Not only does it say rifle range users only, there's one that says no BFRT. And I totally understand the safety. I don't even like to make a left turn there in my car, let alone my bicycle.
Right.
The sight lines are perilous.
Okay.
But that doesn't really solve the problem of someone who would like to access that part of the rail trail.
There's one accessible space there. I use it a lot.
Right. I don't see that being used too much. That's too bad.
Mary Beth does.
I use it.
Yeah, no,
And I
I'm always
like it.
thrilled when somebody's parked there.
I count on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
If I may, we were hopeful that Sudbury would be sooner along because they have the Davis Field parking right on 117.
Right.
There is the potential. This was not popular at the time and it was not part of the Mass DOT purpose or function. But the land, we have the serpentine path on one side, the land on the other side is municipal land. And so if we wanted to put in a small parking area at some point in the future, it is a possibility. It was not a high priority and it was not part of the Mass DOT program at the time. So that is one possibility. The reason that there aren't benches in the area between Williams Road and Powder Mill Road is because it is a groundwater resource and the water district or water company, Public Works Water Department said no benches. We don't want people loitering in our water supply area, nor did the school. The middle school want benches in their location, so they had to be removed.
Okay. So
That area on Powder Mill Road is the neighborhood by Sledding Hill.
Sledding Hill, yes.
Right.
Yes.
okay.
Plenty of room for a couple parking spots.
So something for 2024. Once Aaron gets warmed up. Okay.
On the topic of safe access, I know that the past couple of meetings, we've had members from the public join that have asked about those solar, I think, panels on the walkways across Old Marlborough. I haven't been down that way recently to see if those are now working. I know, Marcia, there'd been some, I think.
Yes, I rode by 10 days ago, I think roughly. It was roughly 10 days ago. I rode the whole trail and specifically went to look at those lights and they worked. So they were working when I went through.
Pushing the button, or the
Yeah,
automatic?
pushing the button. Pushing the button. But they did work. And I remember before at one point they weren't working. So
Right.
we do have those working. The first car that went by didn't really care if they were working, but the other one stopped. So,
Barbara still has her hand up.
Barbara, you still have your hand up?
Well, I put it back up. You started talking about safety and I was wondering if there's an update on improving the safety of the islands at the road crossings. I think you discussed it at one point.
Yeah, we did. What's our,
Aaron McCluskey was going to use yellow paint to define.
high definition
So,
paper, right? Okay. All right, so
Is there a time frame on that?
I don't have a time frame. No,
as of Wednesday, Marcia won't care, but Aaron had to let it go. So we'll circle back on that the next time around. Yeah. Thank you, Barbara, for reminding us of that. Any other public comments? Okay. Then, may I have a motion to, let's see.
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on one second, sorry. The next meeting of this committee will be on June 22nd at 7 PM at 141 Kais Road. Now may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, thank you. Roll call on that, Ms. Boardman,
Aye.
Ms. Barker,
Hi.
Ms. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Stearns,
Aye.
and Mr. Welch says aye. As of 8:18, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all and good night.